Um, so I want to start today's deep dive with a number, 180,000.
Yeah, that's a big
It
number.
is a massive number. Specifically, it's the price in British pounds of the car we're looking at today. And just to give you some context out there, that is enough to buy a very nice house in many parts of the world.
Or, two used Nissan GTRs.
Right, exactly. Two of them. Which is the whole crux of the issue here, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're talking about the Nissan GT R NISMO. And the question isn't whether it's a fast car. We all know it's incredibly fast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The real question is, can a Nissan GT-R really be worth double the price of just a standard Nissan GT-R? Or even significantly more than the 90,000-pound Prestige trim?
And that is exactly what we need to figure out today.
Because we all know the legend, right? Godzilla. The working-class hero that basically eats Ferraris for breakfast. It's always supposed to be the bargain supercar. But at 180,000 pounds, that bargain argument is just dead.
Yeah, it's completely out the window.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to find out where that money actually went. We want to strip away the hype and see if this is just a badge and some red stripes, or if there's genuine engineering wizardry hiding under the hood.
I think wizardry is actually the right word here, because when you dig into the sources, and we have gone through the technical manuals, the track tests, interview transcripts with the development team, you realize pretty quickly this isn't just a tuned GTR.
No, it's really not.
It's a complete reimagining of the platform.
Well, I'm holding the receipt here, and I'm honestly still a bit skeptical, so you're going to have to convince me. Let's start with what we can actually see, right? The exterior. It looks aggressive, sure, but is it functional?
It is obsessively functional. The big headline here is the carbon fiber. But it's not the cosmetic stuff you see glued onto the dashboard of a hatchback just to make it look sporty.
Read the fake weave stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is real structural and aerodynamic carbon.
One detail that stood out to me in the notes was the rear of the car. Specifically, that massive carbon fiber wing.
Oh, the wing is incredible. It even features this really unique integrated brake light.
Yeah, and the boot lid is carbon fiber too, right?
Yeah.
But they paint over it?
They do paint over it. You wouldn't even know it's carbon fiber unless you physically tapped on it.
Which just seems completely crazy to me. Like, if I pay for carbon fiber, I want everyone to see the carbon fiber. Why would you paint it?
Because they aren't doing it for vanity. They're doing it for the scale. It saves grams. And that philosophy extends to the front, too. You've got a carbon fiber front bumper and a massive splitter.
And the bonnet. The entire bonnet is carbon fiber, mostly painted, but the vents are exposed.
Right. And you've got the carbon fiber roof and those side skirts with the signature red Nismo stripe. But the most interesting visual element, functionally speaking, has to be the front wings, the fenders.
You mean those scallop vents? They look like shark gills right on top of the wheels.
Yeah, they look incredible. Very race car.
But do they actually do anything at normal road speeds?
They solve a major problem in aerodynamics, actually. So think about a wheel spinning at, say, 150 miles per hour. It acts almost like a fan. It pumps a massive amount of air into the wheel well.
Okay.
And that air gets trapped right. It builds up this high pressure and actually tries to lift the front of the car off the ground.
So the faster you go, the less grip you have because the air is literally pushing the car up.
Precisely. Those scalloped vents give that high-pressure air an escape route. It channels the air out and along the side of the car, so it directly reduces lift. It sucks the car down onto the tarmac.
And cleans up the airflow down the flanks as a bonus.
Exactly. It is just pure physics sculpted into carbon.
Okay, that is clever. I'll give them that. But let's do the math on the actual weight here. We have a carbon roof, we have a carbon bonnet, carbon bumpers, a carbon boot. The car must be featherlight by now, right?
You would hope so. But this is where the marketing kind of meets reality. The total weight saving from all that exotic material is only about 41 kilograms.
41 kilos. That's it. That's the weight of, I don't know, a large golden retriever. Or, as one source put it, half a man.
Half a man is the exact quote, yes.
So you pay 90,000 pounds extra, and you lose half a man of weight. That sounds like a terrible deal. The car still weighs a hefty 1,700 kilos.
If you only look at the total mass, yes, it sounds bad. But engineering isn't just about how much weight you lose, it's about where you lose it. Which brings us to a concept called the polar moment of inertia.
Okay, that sounds like a physics exam question. Break that down for us.
Imagine you are holding a heavy metal bar. If the weight is distributed evenly across the whole thing, it's really hard to spin it back and forth in your hands. But if all the weight is concentrated in the middle, right near your hands, and the ends are light, you can twist it instantly.
Oh, right, like a figure skater pulling their arms in to spin faster on the ice.
Exactly. By using carbon fiber on the bumpers, which are the extreme ends of the car, and the roof, which is the highest point, they are bringing the mass closer to the center and closer to the ground.
So even though the car is still 1,700 kilos, it behaves differently.
Right, it rotates like a lighter car. It changes direction with much less effort. So the carbon is mostly for handling balance rather than pure weight loss.
So it's really about agility.
Correct. But to truly exploit that agility, you need a good skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the Nismo gets really interesting. Moving from the skin of the car to the skeleton, this was the part of the research that surprised me the most. We need to talk about body bonding.
Yeah, this sounded like something out of a sci-fi movie. Or maybe a really intense craft project. The sources say they literally glue the car together.
Effectively, yes. In addition to normal spot welding, the body panels are bonded.
Hold on. I'm driving 200 miles an hour in a car held together by glue.
It's a bit more advanced than superglue. Think about how a car is normally built. You take two pieces of metal and you spot weld them. Zap, zap, zap. The metal is connected at those specific points.
Right.
But between the welds, the metal can technically flex even microscopically.
Like buttons on a shirt. There are little gaps between the buttons where the fabric can pull apart.
Perfect analogy. What the Nismo engineers do is apply a high-tech structural adhesive between the metal panels before they spot weld them. So instead of just buttons, you now have a zipper and buttons. You get a continuous bond along the entire seam.
And what does that actually yield in terms of numbers?
It results in a chassis that is 10% stiffer than the standard GTR.
10% doesn't sound like a huge jump for double the price tag.
In chassis dynamics, 10% is massive. It is the difference between a sharp knife and a razor. When a chassis is that stiff, it acts as a completely stable platform.
Because if the chassis flexes when you hit a corner, the suspension can't actually do its job right.
Exactly, because the mounting points are physically moving. But if the chassis is rock solid, the suspension, and only the suspension, absorbs the force, which allows the uprated Bilstein 3-mode adaptive dampers to work perfectly.
So it makes the car more predictable.
And
responsive.
Yeah, it makes it immediate. The handling precision goes through the roof. The sources describe the steering response as telepathic. You think about turning, and the car has already done it because there is zero slack in the structure.
And to manage that super stiff structure, they've seriously upgraded the hardware attached to it. We have to mention the brakes. Because when I saw the specs, I genuinely thought it was a typo in the document.
Oh, no typo. 410 millimeters.
410 millimeter brake discs. That is literally the size of an extra large pizza.
They are the largest brakes ever fitted to a production Japanese car. 6 piston calipers at the front on those 410s and 390 millimeters at the rear with 4 piston calipers. And they are carbon ceramic, of course.
Why carbon ceramic, though? Why not just massive steel ones?
2 reasons. First is weight. Steel discs that size would weigh an absolute ton, and that's unsprung weight, which is terrible for handling. Carbon ceramic is incredibly light.
And the second reason?
Heat. These brakes can handle temperatures of 1,000 degrees Celsius without fading. When you are stopping a heavy 1,700 kilogram car from 190 miles per hour, the energy transfer is just violent.
Does it'll just melt or warp right?
Yeah, steel would give up. These ceramics just ask for more. And they're wrapped in bespoke Dunlop tires developed specifically for this chassis.
So we have a carbon skin, a glued and welded skeleton, and pizza-sized brakes. Now we have to get to the heart of the beast, the engine. The hand-built 3.8-liter twin-turbo V6.
A truly legendary engine.
And the story here is pretty romantic, actually. In a world of robots and automated assembly lines, this part is surprisingly human. Tell us about the Takumi.
This is one of Nissan's greatest traditions. Takumi translates to master or artisan. There are only 5 people, 5 individuals in the entire world who are certified to assemble the engine for the GTR NISMO.
5 people. I think there are more people currently living in space than there are people allowed to build this engine.
Probably. One Takumi builds the entire engine from start to finish. They hand measure the tolerances. They inspect every single piston. And when they are done, they attach a plaque to the engine block with their name on it.
So if you buy this car, you know exactly who built its heart.
Exactly.
That is very cool. It adds a real soul to the machine. But I have to play the skeptic again here, because I'm looking at the power output. The standard GTR is already a monster. This Nismo version has 600 horsepower.
Which is a lot of power.
It is. And the torque is 650 newton meters. But the standard car has 570 horsepower. So we're talking about a 30 horsepower increase.
Yeah.
It's 30.
Yeah.
You could get that with a laptop and a software tune in a grocery store parking lot for 500 quid. Why is the factory increase so small for such a huge price hike?
This is honestly the most common criticism of the Nismo. If you were just shopping by numbers or playing top trumps, the Nismo looks like a ripoff. But peak horsepower numbers are mostly marketing. The engineering reality is about how that power is delivered.
Okay, so explain the how. Because the sources specifically mention the turbochargers or the key detail here.
They are. The real magic lies in the fact that these turbochargers are taken directly from the GT3 racing car. These are not street parts.
And what makes a race-derived turbo different from the one in the standard car?
It's all about inertia and spool-up speed. A standard turbocharger is usually a bit heavy. It takes a moment to spin up. You put your foot down. There is a pause, which we call turbo lag, and then the power hits you.
But in racing, you can't afford that pause. You need instant drive out of a corner.
Exactly. So they changed the shape and the number of the blades on the turbine wheel. By removing one blade and reshaping the others, they significantly reduced the mass. A lighter wheel means it spools up incredibly quickly.
So it's not about the maximum power right at the top of the rev range. It's about what happens the millisecond you touch the pedal.
Precisely. It massively improves the throttle response. One of the test drivers described the acceleration as instant and completely relentless. Even in gears where a normal turbo car would feel sluggish, the Nismo just explodes forward. You are paying for that responsiveness.
It sounds like they're trying to make a turbocharged car feel like a naturally aspirated engine.
That is the holy grail for turbo engines, and they have gotten very, very close.
So let's talk about what happens when you actually unleash those 600 hand-built horses. The acceleration runs are a bit controversial. Nissan claims this car hits 60 miles per hour in 2.5 seconds.
Which is Bugatti territory. That is hypercar speed.
But in the independent tests we reviewed, they couldn't quite replicate that claimed time, could they?
No, real-world surfaces are never as sticky as a manufacturer's prepped test track. In the tests on a slightly slippery surface, they hit 60 in 2.89 seconds.
Only 2.89 seconds. I feel ridiculous even implying that is slow.
It is violently fast. Anything under 3 seconds creates G-forces that literally make it hard to breathe. And the standing quarter mile is demolished in the high 10-second range, 10.92 seconds to be exact. It effectively teleports you down the road.
And helping it teleport is the transmission. It's a 6-speed, dual-clutch automatic. But in today's world, a 6-speed feels a bit ancient. Most cars have 8 or even 10 speeds now.
It is an older design. The core GTR platform has been around for a long time, but for the Nismo, they recalibrated the software to shift even faster. They call them rifle bolt shifts.
It's a very vivid image.
And it's accurate. Modern automatic transmissions in luxury cars are designed to be smooth. You shouldn't feel them at all. The GTR transmission is the complete opposite. It bangs into gear, it clunks, it rattles at low speeds.
Yeah, the noise and harshness is definitely a factor. When you are parking, it sounds like a bag of spanners.
It really does.
And that brings us to the overall driving experience.
Yeah.
Because the steering feel is another blast from the past, right?
Yes. Almost every new car uses electric power steering. It's efficient, it allows for self-parking, but it filters out information. The GTR NISMO sticks with hydraulic power steering, which is a real rarity in modern cars.
Why does that matter so much to the driver?
Because hydraulic fluid transmits vibration perfectly. It's described as incredibly pointy, providing immense feedback. You feel connected to the road. Unlike what some purists call the electrical nonsense of its competitors, you know exactly how much grip the front tires have.
But there's a downside to all this mechanical feel, and feedback isn't there. This car isn't exactly a comfortable Grand Tourer.
Not at all. The sources are very clear on this. The sound is mechanical and clunky with all those gearbox noises, and the ride is very firm. It irons out small imperfections, okay, but it can be exhausting on long journeys.
And motorway driving involves a lot of droning from the exhaust, right?
Yes, this is a track car for the road. It is not a comfortable tourer like a Porsche 911 Turbo S.
Let's hop inside the cabin, assuming our ears aren't ringing too much from the highway drone. Does the interior justify the 180,000-pound price tag?
This is where the argument gets really difficult. There are moments of absolute brilliance mixed with what I can only call antiquity.
The brilliance being the seats, I assume.
Oh, the seats are magnificent. They're carbon-backed Recaro bucket seats that are exclusive to the Nismo. One reviewer said his feet were wedged in. They hold the driver that tight.
And the materials are pretty premium, right?
Yeah, there's Alcantara everywhere. On the steering wheel, the dash, the roof lining. You've got this great red stitching and a signature red ref counter. It feels like a proper race cockpit.
But then you look at the tech.
And you are transported back in time. The infotainment is widely described as horrible, laggy, and low def. It really feels its age compared to modern screens.
And the practicality is pretty compromised, too.
Well, the rear seats have virtually unusable legroom and headroom. You definitely don't buy a Nismo to carry passengers.
Unless you really dislike them. But the boot space is actually okay.
Surprisingly decent, yes. 315 liters. That is larger than many supercars like the Audi R8 or the Porsche 911, though smaller than a McLaren GT.
So let's try to summarize this entire value proposition. We have a car that is a bit old, loud, clunky, has terrible tech, and costs as much as a house. Does the engineering actually justify the price tag?
Logically, for the average buyer, no. Competitors like the Porsche 911 Turbo S or the McLaren GT offer much better daily usability and way newer tech for less money.
So who exactly is the Nismo for?
It's for the die-hard GTR fan. This is the ultimate collector's item. It's about the spirit of the car we mentioned at the start.
An analog experience in a digital world.
Exactly. Hydraulic steering, mechanical noises, and those racing turbos. It's flawed and expensive, but it is undeniably special.
It's a swan song for a certain type of driving. Which leads us to our final thought for today. We are moving into a world of silent electric speed.
We are.
So for you listening out there, think about this. Is the raw, mechanical, clunky nature of the GTR Nismo a liability? Or is it exactly what makes it worth saving? Is character worth an extra 90,000 pounds over raw performance stats?
It's a great question to ponder on your next.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.